G'day all, welcome back to the channel. On this video we're going to do a little bit more work in the shop, setting things up, cleaning things up, getting rid of junk, and we're going to jump back onto the VL and we're going to strip this bonnet down too, so let's get into it. Alright, so I've just set the bonnet up on a stand and checked it over, and I've just gone and circled where all the damage is, or little dents and things like that. So we've only got a little banger here, which you might be able to see there. It's very tiny, but it's there. The rest of the bonnet's pretty good. This edge was folded down. I've hammered and dollied that, and I've got a little bit more to do there, but knock this little crease down, but that'll be right. It'll come up good. Front edge of the bonnet's been tap danced on, so we're going to fix that too. I can't really get to that from behind because there's a, you know, the frame of the bonnet's there, so probably just going to have to use a bit of filler to straighten that out. Little ding there, little ding there. So the paint on it's not too bad. It's not crow's footed or anything like that. I mean, I could go ahead and sand this bonnet down, do the repairs and prime it, but for the sake of the car and going back to me doing things how I would want it done on my own car, I'm going to go ahead and strip this. So I've just marked these dents out just so I've got a photo and I don't forget. I mean, I'm not going to forget that this damage is here, but if you did have a lot of damage on it, it's pretty easy to, once you strip it off, you can probably get lost and forget things. So I just circle things, take a photo, then I'll strip it all, go back to the photo as reference, and I know sort of where I've got to be looking. So I'm going to set this up to strip now. So we're going to use paint stripper on it. So I'll get it all set up, sorted out, and we'll get it stripped. All right, so what I'm doing here is I've basically just got a razor blade, and I'm just scratching the paint. So you're not trying to cut the bonnet in half with this. All I'm doing is putting grooves in the paint to help the paint stripper seep in and get up underneath of it. You don't need to do this. It will work without it. I just find it helps the paint stripper a little bit if it can get in these grooves and helps get up under the paint. All right, so as you can see, I've set it up. I've put 36mm tape around the edges like a border, paper around the sides, and basically what I'm going for is, see how the stripper likes to fall off. I don't want it to go around the edges of the bonnet. So the strip of tape and the paper means that it's hopefully not going to go up underneath the bonnet, because I don't want to strip under there. It's pretty good. I've probably put too much on here. As you can see, she's loaded, but I'm not here to fuck around, so I would normally recommend laying plastic down on the floor to try and keep the mess to a minimum, but so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get some plastic, cover it, keep the stripper moist, leave it on there for about half an hour, and then we'll peel it off, and hopefully the majority of that will just fall off. So just going back to what I was saying about the plastic, so I've laid a piece of plastic over the top of it, patted it down. That's just going to, again, look, you don't really have to do it, but being a bit of a warm day, I like to do it just so it locks everything in, and that paint strip is not going to, be drying out from the weather or anything like that. So it just keeps it all nice and wet under there, and after half an hour or so, when I peel that plastic off, hopefully majority of that paint is going to lift off, and we'll use that. We're going to attempt to use that plastic to try and catch most of it. before we start scraping it. So that's the idea behind that. You don't need to use it, as I said, but I find it works better with laying the plastic on. So we'll let it sit half an hour. All right, so I've pulled that plastic off, and as you can see, it's basically coming straight off, straight back to metal. So plastic, in my opinion, does help, and plenty of paint stripper. I mean, look, let's be honest here, I've put way too bloody much on here, but it's better to have a bit more on there than not enough, because otherwise it'll dry out and it'll be a prick to get off. So, but the majority of this will just come off, and it's very little effort. It's going to take me longer to clean up all this and the floor than to pull all this paint off. So I'll finish getting all this off and getting the bonnet cleaned up, and then I'll cut you back on. Alright, so all the stripper is off, and as you can see, majority of it's come off. The bit that is still there, I mean, that's going to take absolutely nothing to get rid of. The tape around the edges work, nothing's got underneath. So now I can go along with the strip wheel, and I'll get rid of all this, clean the rest of this off, go along the back here, wire wheeling all the little channel there, and that'll be paint stripped and ready to go. So after I do this, because I'm running out of time, I may just clean it all up and let it sit in bare metal, and then when I'm here next, I'll metal prep it, and then we'll get some epoxy on it. Alright, so I've gone ahead now and gone around the bonnet with the strip wheel, clean all the edges off, give it a hit over the whole lot. So that's it, that's all paint stripped, ready to rock and roll. So then on the next video, we'll be able to get this in the booth, get some epoxy on it, and do the few repairs that it needs, and get it into primer, and then get it into paint. So that's it. Alright, so an update on the workbench. The old man's over here yesterday, give me a hand. He's put this board up, so that's basically finished. We put in a couple of power points, one there, one over here. I do have a couple of 15 ampers, just because my dint puller's a 15 amp, but we're probably going to put that up here. But for now, I guess you could call it the shadow board, that's finished. I've just tucked all my benches and stuff under there. They fit under there pretty good. So I'll basically clean all this off and start working out where I'm going to place things, you know, a couple of cabinets or maybe a shelf, whatever I'm going to do up there, just to utilise that space. I don't want to hang tools or anything, because I've got a toolbox. I'm going to buy another toolbox for here, so all the tools will be in the toolbox, but mainly just you know, cabinets and shelving, and probably some parts bins and stuff lined up there for easy access for when I'm working on the bench. If I need anything, I can just reach up and grab it. Battery tools will go up here, I'm thinking, where the power point is. I'll run the lead up nice into a cabinet just there. So that's coming up all right. So I'll show you what else is on the go in the shop, and we'll have a chat. So I've got this little room here, which is basically a little smoko room. I've boarded that window up just because I don't like the fact that, you know, sort of easy access for old Louis Lightfingers anyway. So I think I'm going to put all my paint stuff in here. That way, when everything's in here, I can close the door and keep all the dust out. I don't like having all the paint out in the workshop and then it, you know, the cans and stuff getting covered in dust and shit and whatever. So I've put them all in here. I do have obviously more to bring in, but I think I'm going to set maybe a little paint bench up in this corner, hang a cabinet on the wall, possibly a shelf along here to put more paint supplies or things like that. Alright, so little room. That's her, she's all done. So This is just going to be me sort of a storeroom, but place where I can mix paint and keep everything out of the workshop and out of the dust. So I've just thrown a little table in here, you know, a little toolbar with the gun spanners and can openers and little things like that. You know, colour matching light, a few rulers hanging up there, paint cups, strainers, you know, chips, the old bacon trays there, you know, bake a few cakes while I'm going. I'm doing a few paint jobs. So no, I use these to clean my guns in, just so I don't fully destroy this table with the gun wash. That's what they're for. Little cabinet, I tarted her up. Already scratched the shit out of it, but it'll be right, it'll do. So I've just put me spray guns in here, so what I've got to chase up is a magnetic spray gun holder, so I can actually hang all these on the wall, so they're not just all thrown in there like that. You know, fittings, pots that I don't really use, I use the disposables. You know, a few gun holders on the wall there, cups, any little sort of pressure pack or, you know, little things like that I've got in there. This cabinet's got all my sandpapers and things like that. That's still a bit of a mess in here. I've got to clean her up, but bit of gear in there, so that's got to be cleaned up. And then I just threw my little welder in here and my dint puller, and obviously the paint, which you saw in the last little clip. So this room's come up alright. I didn't utilise this room at all, so I think this has worked out pretty good. And now while I'm working away in the shop, I can keep this door shut and keep all the dust out of it. So yeah, pretty happy with that. So we'll jump on to the next bit, and I'll show you what's next on the list. Alright, so something else we're going to be working on is running an actual airline system. At the moment, all I've got is airlines running the length of the shop to connect the air reels and things like that. And I mean, it was a makeshift sort of thing to do at the start, just to get air around the shop, but it's really not ideal. You get a lot of pressure drop and things like that, because, you know, the air's got to come out of the compressor, run through 20 metres. I've got it running through the dryer at the moment, but I had it running up here, running across there, through 20 metres of hose there, then across into the shed, and it's another bloody 10 or 15 metres, and then into the booth. So I was getting a lot of pressure drop. So I'm going to sort all that out and run an actual air system. So I've done a bit of a rough sketch here, what we're sort of after. You can see I should be an artist instead of a painter. So this is a compressor, that ugly drawing there, but I'm going to run a pipe out under the bench here, and we're going to come up the wall, you know, a couple of T-pieces up to that air line. I'm going to bring one across over here, because the other air reel that's over there is going to go up on the wall there, and then we're going to shoot it across along the top of this wall into that booth, into that shed to the booth. So this pipe, I've done a bit of research. I was going to buy a Max airline system, but they were like $800, and I thought I could probably make my own cheaper than that. So I've done a bit of research on their products. The pipe they use is a PE pipe, which is what this is. So I've gone down to Bunnings, snagged that, grabbed a few fittings just to get started. So obviously the pipe's cheap. The pipe was only about $50. This is where they bend you over. They're about $20 each. But so that's the plan. So if you're going to build an airline system in your shop, look, I'm not a professional by any means, but this might give you a little bit of an idea how to set something up. Obviously, we're going to keep the water separator, and we're going to incorporate all that. We're going to have a few drop valves with ball valves on it to drain the lines if needed, and I'll probably put a few regulators in between just so I can see if there's water actually getting through. And then obviously we'll go into the booth and get the air sorted there. So it's basically only going to be coming out of the compressor, which will be here. I'm going to move it, come straight up into that trap and across straight into the booth. that pipe, which the pipe I got is 25 mil, so it's an inch thick, inch diameter, just so it can hold a fair bit of air, so I'm not getting any pressure drop. So I'm not going to start doing that today, but if that's something you want to watch, I'll do a video on that if it interests anyone. But that's the next little project that we're going to be doing in here. So, all right, guys. So that one's going to wrap this video up. I'm going to end it there, and then on the next video we'll get in the booth, get some epoxy on it, and keep going through. I have prepped a lot of the moulds and things like that, so I've only got the door moulds to prep now, and we're pretty well ready apart from the bumpers. But I think I'm going to I've got a new front center section. I think I'm going to buy new ends for it, because the amount of time it's going to take me to repair what's on there, I mean, I can buy 2 new ones for $120, so I've got to weigh up sort of what's, you know, more efficient for my time, and that's probably the way that I'm going to go. So if that's the case, I'll buy 2 new ones. Front bar's basically ready. It only needs a quick Scotch-Brite, and we're painting. So all the moulds are nearly done. 4 door moulds left. We're nearly at the tail end. So until then, I'll see you in the next one, and we'll see if we can get this thing finished up ASAP. I'll see you then, guys. Cheers.